Toy Story is a film that gained an audience for the new medium approaching and the rise of CGI animated films. It's in its 25th anniversary with three direct sequels and a collection of spin offs. Here now, in 2020, amongst the approach of its quarter century, I cannot look at the film with the same level of nostalgia as everyone I know. I understand why I find it disappointing and inferior to its sequels. My reason being, I cannot root for any of the characters, nor do I like the plot structure and motivations of the cast. Perhaps the original draft really affected my feelings, with Woody originally being the antagonist. One fact we can all level with is that the quality of Pixar storylines dramatically improved with A Bug's Life in 1997. Though I adore Pixar and what they achieve, their pioneering marvel that is Toy Story is not why we are here. It's been 25 years of no warm up, but there is another film I have warmed up to, as is required, being set in the dead winters of Alaska. I'm here to reach for the light of a beloved animation. 70 years following, Universal releases the final film from Studio Emblemation. Based in the 1925 Serum Run in Alaska, story involves transporting antitoxin to the isolated gnome, suffering an outbreak of diphtheria. This run was made by teams of sled dogs who are honored for saving the lives of those affected. This is nothing less than a tragedy caught in time by Curtis Welch, the physician of Nome, with a population of less than 2,000. He had not received a shipment of diphtheria serum, putting the town, especially the youth, at risk of succumbing to infection. Balto released in heavy inspiration. Despite the actual event, this film is a piece of historical fiction, and a fine one at that. The focus is primarily from the perspective of the dogs, led by the protagonist, a wolf dog and stray mongrel residing outside Nome. While pursuing Jetta, his love interest, Balto soon discovers that her master, Rosie, and the fellow children are now suffering from diphtheria. Determined to help her and Nome, Balto competes to partake in the serum run for saving the town. On perspective of the protagonist, this wild and domestic mutt struggles with being half-wolf, to the point of rejection of the humans and distaste of fellow canines. His guide and father-like figure is Uncle Boris, who attends to the dog by filling any chasm of doubt plaguing the quadruped like the epidemic falling over the human inhabitants. Boris may just have the best and most memorable moment of dialogue in this animation, which we will get to momentarily. This film is about the journey of one who's ridiculed for his lineage, but learns to overcome acceptance and save those in need. Yes, this is a breakdown shared by various films. Balto, however, is rich in features to the plot we are familiar with. For every emotion, this film satisfies each one. It's difficult to balance humor and sorrow, but here it is exceeded. E.T. makes a hilarious cameo in the same film, featuring a bear beating a dog below a frozen lake, nearly drowning. These are two polar opposing genres, each bridged with invested characters and their interactions. On the rival side is Steel, voiced by Jim Cummings. Seriously, the man with the vocal cords behind Pooh and Tigger, I can't even pick him out amongst the roles. Though he's definitely an antagonist, he's more of a glorified bully to the hero of the story. Egotistical and lazy, I'd compare him to Zed and Rita in Power Rangers, how he brings down Balto with actions that will devastate others in a chain of sequences. Am I really comparing Power Rangers to Balto? Exemplary, when he attempts to confuse Balto with false trail markers, this sabotage would ultimately hurt Gnome more than the rival, proving Steel ultimately as an obstacle. On the subject of antagonists, I feel the true enemy of the film are the underlying themes: the diphtheria outbreak, Balto's self-doubt, and the lack of options on what the townspeople are to do, so isolated with the harsh Alaskan climate between them and help. The combination of these villainous elements is the perfect tool set for the atmosphere the movie maintains. I worry for the children and the mongrel lead taking on the suffering with his own burdens. Amblin not only derived from history, but set the mood of perfection to emulate the true threat both in inspiration and actuality. So many films including those of Disney, become dark to the point of innermost cave. Balto deviates by balancing its more sorrowful moments throughout the run, such as the coffin carpenter and the town blacking out in a moment of loss. A vastly favored event of mine comes in the form of the ordeal. Below the cliff, Balto feels defeated and useless, if not for a camouflage figure approaching in the blizzard. This moment grants goosebumps as he looks deep inside himself for the hope needed desperately by the infected. Like the high cliff overhead, the resolution seems unreachable to a futile point. But as he sulks in the falling snow, the white wolf turns her tail and departs, leaving a trail of lupine-defined prints.
Let me tell you something, Balto. A dog cannot make this journey alone. But maybe a wolf can.
Extending his paw forward, the pads and keratin fit perfectly into the indentation. The epiphany hits Balto like the comforting encouragement of a mother. Spine arched and nose to the sky, the orchestra descends into stringed instruments before going into sync with the resolution. He rises to his fours at the build of escalation of trumpets before smashing into bass reverberations. Howling for the first time, he declares his lupine blood. The announcement clears the snow flurry, revealing the white wolf re-emerging to join her son's chorus. Yes, this is his mother. Her name is Ainu. James Horner is the main man for the orchestral score, and I'm guessing I'm unfamiliar with him. So let's check out his additional Hollywood works. What the? Ugh. Rest in peace, Mr. Horner. We've lost a human treasure. And as James Horner is cherished, let's cherish Balto in the ending of this movie. It's expected of any PG-related film, but there's an intense twist just before the voice of Steen Winewood ends in the lyrics of Reach for the Light. I'd not even noticed the connection until it was pointed out on the second viewing. This is one of the film's strongest references, implemented at just the right time, the climactic end. From the immature mind present in the head when first viewing, I majorly love this film for the primary characters being that of beasts. Each of you know that my favorite characters are of the anthropomorphic adaptations. Balto is no exclusion. He's an excellent lead with an accommodating voice behind the muzzle who was not present in the sequels. Wolf Quest is themed around Native American mythology, and Wings of Change, of course, is flight.
Can you fly, you sucker? Can you
No, Kevin Bacon, that son of a cannot fly. Now that we're on the subject, Balto is a son of one, and just whom portrays this dog? No way. Whenever my psyche recalls the transitional era in the time of gaming's fifth generation, I realize film is equally affected. Star Fox is the first 3D game on a console platform, released in 1993, 2 years before Balto and Toy Story. The transitional era, as I nicknamed in the generational video, link in the description, evolved one step ahead of the animation industry. Multiple releases are lost to the masses whenever entertainment makes an evolution with a spotlight on the new and upcoming. Time and the magic of communication has brought obscurity into the neglected showcase. The internet has inadvertently marketed what was once obscure with only a small fan base. For my experience, I gained a love for Balto through the passion of my best friend, who raves about this film as a third parent whom raised her from behind the screen. I relate in a comparison to my love for Robin Hood, but her passion for Balto allowed for a new layer of induced respect. This is not a biopic or accurate depiction of history, but of historical fiction, the same genre of another film scored by James Horner. Approaching the 1925 serum run with the focus from a wolf dog who is shunned for his heritage and only one capable of transporting and navigating the Alaskan wilderness. The film follows the structure of Hero's Journey, yet as I mentioned, the quality features to the widely used format is what completes this story. It's so easy to be drawn by the bright box art before finding it quite emotional and dreary only minutes in. I cannot compare to feeling humanized by the characters. In a sense, I cannot let go of the feeling that I'm watching this reality of man from the viewpoint of a bestial cast. This is what the film is. Animals observing and participating to aid the human masters. A great number of anthropomorphic films depict their characters as just bestial humans, but films like Zootopia capture a wild sense that greatly dehumanizes the depiction. Balto is no different, as man becomes the victim and the beasts take up the role where he cannot. I am thankful for this animation and this golden 25th anniversary opportunity to praise it as it deserved a quarter century ago. Thank you, Amblimation, for this epic. This video is to your dedication.